picked this thing up last week for a steal. Honestly, it was, might as well call it free. I bought it sight unseen. Thought it was going to be a piece of junk boat. I mean, it's not in great shape, but it's actually got good bones. It's a low 15-foot riveted hull, modified V, and it's got, metal front and rear casting decks on it. Came with 2 pedestal seats. I don't intend to keep this. I bought this to sell it, and I think to maximize profits, I'm going to sell this motor individually. It's a pretty desirable motor. It's 40 horsepower, console, controls, and the hydraulic trim will help to bring a little extra money too. So first thing I'm going to do is work on this motor and get it running. Alright, so we are looking at this thing for the first time together. Trim buttons aren't working, but I'm assuming the battery's just dead on it. Since it's been sitting for so long, I do have a spare battery out here, so I'll hook that up in a second. The mouse nest. Looks like it's got the Johnson primer on it. It looks pretty clean. Besides for the mouse nest. I think while I got the box cover off, I'll take the back side of that cleaner box off, and then we'll open up the bowls to the floats and see what if anything is in there. So looking a bit closer at this thing, there's a bit of crud. If I can get it to focus, there's a bit of crud on this thing, which means that carburetor's probably gummed up too at the bottom. So it's probably, I'll go ahead and pull it off. And if I'm going to pull one off, might as well pull both of them off. Yeah, it's really a mess inside as well as outside. I think I decided, just for ease, I'm going to, since I plan on pulling this motor anyways to sell it, I'm going to go ahead and pull it, put it in the garage on a stand. That way I have easy access to all my tools and everything. It would make it easier to work on. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this thing off of here, and then I'll get back to you guys in the garage. Okay, I got the batteries hooked up. I think these tags used to say, whether they were positive or negative in the past. Sometime in the last 10 years or maybe longer, those markings have worn off. So I put some red liquid tape on the positive leads so that I don't get those mixed up in the future. And now that we've got some power to it, let's see if the trim works. Yep. Sweet. Cool. It's got a trim switch on the console also. Let's see if that works. That is not. Oh, there we go. It does work. bust some crud off his contacts. So that works. Let's see if the starter turns. Okay. You feel the primer's working. Yeah, it works. Okay. Thing looks brand new. I don't think it's ever been run. It hasn't. Dang. I'll put a little bit of lubricant in the cylinders and then we'll check, bump the starter over and check for spark. Okay. Yep. So that one was sparking. Let's check this one. Yep. I feel like I might have got WD-40 on the camera. They were both sparking, so that's good. I honestly don't think we're going to have trouble running this thing. I am going to pull the carburetors. Since we saw that that bottom carburetor looked like it was fairly junky. All right, gotta take the rest of this off. Yep, so this is the VRO, it's the oiler, so it mixes the oil for you so that you can have an external oil tank instead of pre-mixing. But most people bypass those things because if it does fail, chances are you won't know until it's too late. So I've had this thing for about a week now, and I still haven't run the serial number to see what year this thing is, but I will. I swear I will before it's all said and done. I actually think this thing is going to clean up pretty good. Just give it a wash, clean some of the dirt out of it and on the outside. The outside of it looks like my fence. Just green. There's always one bolt that wants to fight you, no matter what. No matter what it is. All the rest of them will go easy as crap, and then there's one of them. It'll make you work for it every time. Alright, carburetor's off, and I go through them. This is the top, this is the bottom. The bottom is the one that looked like it was gunked up, but we'll start with the top. These things have Loctite on them. I was wondering whether it was so hard to turn. So this one is completely dry and it doesn't look dirty. It looks fine. Honestly, I'm thinking this one is going to be okay. That didn't sit with anything in it. This one had some oil and whatnot in it. Tip of this thing has a little crud. Ooh. Yeah, definitely some nastiness in there that wouldn't have run right. So I'll tear this one down all the way. There's no way that one was gonna work. Put that in there with a little bit of carb cleaner. Let that soak. It's actually pretty easy. Looks like that was turned out about 2.5. Just a hair past 2.5. Alright, I'm going to start cleaning some of this stuff out. So I have one of those little Harbor Freight ultrasonic cleaners. To be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of it. It's too small, and the timers don't go past like 4 minutes. So I want to get myself a bigger one that I can run for half an hour at a time. Really let things sit. But what I do in the meantime is I end up putting the plug back in the bowl, and I just fill it up with carb cleaner. Let that set for a little bit. Scrape around with a pick, break up all that stuff, and eventually whatever's in there will loosen up. And then I do the same thing. I just set all the small pieces in this little jar here and spray some carb cleaner in there and let it set while I'm working on other things. I try to avoid putting things that have like rubber O-rings or gaskets. A lot of times this the acetone, I guess, in the carb cleaner will deform plastic products, plastic and rubber, whatever it's made of. So this main jet is clogged. And I wish I had something big enough to set this thing in and let it soak, but I don't. Another thing, I always wear eye protection when I'm using this stuff too. That acetone gets in your eyes, man, that stuff is not fun. Remember the first time I thought I was gonna go blind? I didn't. But it felt like it. So I got this little pick set on Amazon, which is amazing for carbs. I don't remember what it was called. It might have been listed for carbs, but I mean, it's got some tiny little picks on here that you can fit through all the jets. Tap that one. Fill that thing up. Let this sit in there so it can break up all that gunk that's on the tip of there. Yep, let that sit for a while. So I'll let that set for a bit and then I'll come back. While the carburetor parts are soaking down, I figured I might as well check the lower unit. Put the locks on the stand. Let's roll away. There we go. That's tight. Okay. Okay, I went and got the impact screwdriver. I will say this is one of the best additions I have made to my tool collection. I've used this over and over again. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. It's clean. I thought there's some gunk at the bottom, but the rest of the oil looks okay, I think. Looks like they used to have like some marine lower unit oil in there and then just some regular gear oil mixed in. At first I thought it was cloudy, but I think that was the blue greenish of the marine oil mixed in there. So I'll let that drain. I'll put some more in there. All right, I was about to fill it back up, and then I decided while we've got everything off, might as well go ahead and give it a pressure test. All right, so I got my pressure pump here. I'm gonna pump it up to 10 psi. Let that sit for about 10 minutes. All right, so it's at 10 psi, if you can see it. Sorry, I can't tell if the camera actually focused on it. It's at 10 psi. I'm gonna go ahead and step back over to the carburetors real quick while we let that set for a bit. All right. Grab a rag. Cleaned up all the gunk off of bottom of the float. I'm trying not to, I don't know what the tip of the needles are made out of, but I try not to get acetone carb cleaner on that. I do want to spray down the metal part just to make sure there's no gunk on there that can get stuck in the seat. This jet was up top. It wasn't dirty to begin with. And it's clean now. We'll see if the carb cleaner loosened this up any. I couldn't get not even my finest pick through here. Alright, so this is the smallest one. Yep, good, I can get in there now. I'm going to step it up until I can't fit it anymore. Just to break up all that gunk. So all that, I don't know, dried up oil or whatever it was in the bottom of the bowl. The tip of the main was sitting in it. So it's most likely just the tip was clogged up. That is unclogged now. That took care of most of the nastiness. So I'll put a little bit more fresh stuff in here. That's clean. Alright, let's see if that jet is clear yet. Yep. Now, just because we can get carb cleaner through it doesn't mean it's completely cleared, so that's where these come in handy. Oh yeah, that's good. seat here. Yeah, I just did something so stupid. Man, the crazy thing is, as I was tightening this thing down, I was like, hey, let me make sure I don't tighten this too tight because these are brittle. I broke this thing off. That sucks for two reasons. One, it sucks because I'm going to have to order a new one, and I don't even know if I can find that. But two, it sucks because the threads are broken off in there, and I've got to get that out. So carburetors are on hold pretty much until I can get that part. That sucks. But what can you do? All right, let's check the gauge. It is down at 5. It's more bad news. Man, just bad news hit me all at once here. So that's down at 5. It should have stayed at about 10. It shouldn't have dropped. So we've got a leak somewhere. I'm gonna pump it back up and grab some soap and try to figure out where it's leaking from. Might have to take this prop off. Might have to take the lower unit off. All right, took the cotter pin out of here. Before I can drop the lower unit, I've got to disconnect the shift linkage, which connects up under the power head here. And just to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to remove the starter. That should make it easier to get to this bolt that holds in the linkage. I have already disconnected the battery. More nuts. It will be very hard to see on this camera, but there is a bolt here where my finger is that holds in the linkage. And so I'm going to zap that out real quick. Maybe. Maybe not. might be the right size. It's 3/8 in case you're wondering. That's what I thought it was. All right, so that's out. Alright, water pump housing. I'm going to take this off so that we can see the seals underneath of it that go into the lower unit. Definitely would have had to replace this anyways. That looks terrible. You can see that fin is almost completely split in half. So that would have, if we had to run this, that would have ended up breaking off and potentially could have clogged up our cooling system. So we'll order a new impeller. Actually, I think I might have one of these. I'll check later. Let me get this bottom plate off. The key for the impeller. Don't lose that. Not all the kits come with a new one. And here are the seals. So in particular, what we're concerned about, this seal for the shift shaft, this seal around the drive shaft, and this seal here around the prop shaft. Those are the three usual suspects. At times you might have water intrusion inside the lower unit, and it could simply be because of the vent or the fill for the oil. But those are the first two things we check, so we know that's not the problem. But sometimes it could be as simple as that. Maybe you forgot to put a gasket on there. Sometimes when you take sometimes when you change the lower unit oil and you take that bolt out, sometimes the old gasket won't come with it, and then you end up doubling up, and sometimes that'll cause it to leak. But anyways, for now, I'm going to pump this thing back up with air, and we'll spray this down with some soapy water and see if we can figure out where we're leaking at. Sorry, I didn't have the camera on. I thought the camera was on, but it wasn't. So I hooked back up the pressure pump to this thing and sprayed it down, and immediately I can tell where the problem is. If you can see all those bubbles that are coming out there, so the seals around the shift shaft there. So I can probably get away with just ordering those. I'm giving it some time around the other seals. Like I said, there's really only three main spots we got to look out for. And they all look okay, except for that one. So here, no problems here. No problems where the drive shaft goes in. Obvious problems where the shift shaft goes through. And it looks like it's even on the outside here. So there's probably a little O-ring that goes on the outside, and then there's one in the inside. Cool. All right, so I will order one of those. I've got a list of things I need to order now. All right, so let's recap because I'm going to take a few days off this project while I'm waiting for parts to come in. Need a new impeller. Also, I'll get this O-ring here because that one is smashed. The bottom plate and the housing look fine. This is a wear part, but we'll see what's online. Sometimes they come in kits with everything, like a rebuild kit for the whole water pump, or sometimes it's easier just to order the impeller itself. We'll get the seals for the shift shaft. I have to order this part since I screwed it up, which was dumb. Rookie mistake. Get a new jet, hopefully. I feel like that one might be tough to find, but I will get that. What else do we need? I think that's it. Let me see if... I'm going to check and see if I have that impeller already. Oh, here it is. Let's see if this is it. This one might be a little bit small. I think this came off of a smaller outboard. And so one thing going good for me today, I did already have this impeller, so I will throw that one on there once we get everything back together and I don't have to order that part. That's one less thing. All right, well for now, I'm at a stand, so there's nothing else I can do right now. I will hold tight, order some parts, and we'll finish this later.